There we go. Sorry for the late start there. We're trying out a little something new and had a little bit of a technical difficulty. So, of course, it makes sense that as soon as we get our name squared away, that we start running into problems, I guess.
Yep, that's technology.
So, as you may have noticed, we have finally settled on the title of this little show that we've been doing. So we figured that no matter if you're straight or gay or somewhere in between, at some point in their life, everybody is a little bar curious. So I guess kind of our theme of this show going forward will be if you have any sort of bar-related questions, whether it's what you might use a certain mixer for, or how you make a certain cocktail, or if you've got a cocktail that you want us to try.
Or you've got ingredients lying around that you're not sure what to do with.
Send them our way, and we'll try to come up with something. We're not professionally... Professionally?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
We're fashionably.
We're fashionably professional. There you go.
Yeah.
So either way, we're not really trained to be doing this. We do have a mixology certificate from a cruise ship that we went on. So, I mean, as far as...
We have a Bachelor of Arts in Mixology, I'll have you know.
Thanks to Holland America. Thanks, Holland America. If you want to give us a free cruise for plugging you, that would be fantastic. But yeah, so...
Yeah, we may not have the answers, but it'll be entertaining.
So yes, so tonight we're going to be doing two different drinks. The first one that we're going to be doing is one that comes courtesy of one of my co-workers, Chrissy Capehart. She works over at Hoopsters in Jeffersonville. She bartends there on the weekends. I don't know when they're going to be opening up with this whole quarantine jig, but once they're back open, why don't you go there, order some drinks from her, tip her very well because she's fantastic. She has come up with kind of her own quarantine-inspired version of a cosmopolitan, which she's calling the Back Porch. That's what Jeff's going to be making. And as for myself, my little brother Jonathan, he said that he wanted me to try to make a drink with green tea. It's basically going to be a sweet green tea with vodka in it. So I'm not a big fan of green tea, but I do love booze. So I'm hoping mixing the two together will make something palatable for me.
Yeah, and both drinks tonight are vodka-based, so it actually makes it simple.
Yeah, we'll say that we planned that. It's
yes.
not, we didn't just come on that right here. So Jeff's going to kind of chat with you tonight while I begin our first drink, which is going to be this this green tea with vodka. So I found a recipe. The one that my brother sent me was one from Tito's website, Tito's Vodka. It seems pretty easy. There's not a lot going into it. I went ahead and brewed my green tea earlier and put it in the fridge to chill because they asked for about 3 to 4 ounces of green tea, depending on what your taste level is going to be. So we're going to start off by, we're going to add some vodka to a shaker.
Green tea, by the way, is not actually green in color. I don't know where the name comes from. It must be from green tea leaves or something, but it's kind of a pale colored tea. I'm no expert in teas, but I imagine if this is something that you like, you could probably do it with any number of other teas, including herbal teas or just whatever your thing is.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised because another friend of ours from Palm Springs had talked about wanting us to make a martini that had infused tea in it. And I couldn't find the exact recipe, so I'm going to have to get with you, Gary, to see what the actual ingredients to that are. But I guess tea is becoming kind of a fun thing that people are starting to use in their drinks now.
Yeah. This also calls for a honey simple syrup. People sometimes, a lot of recipes will call for a simple syrup as a way just to sweeten a drink up. And you can buy a bottle of it in the grocery store or in the liquor store, but you can make your own too. It's really easy. It's 1 part of just white granular sugar to 1 part of water, and you just boil it until it's all dissolved and then let it cool, and you have simple syrup. And along the way, you could infuse it with anything you want. So if you wanted to put herbs in it, like rosemary or lemon or orange or any kind of fruit, you could do that too and come up with your own. Just put it in a bottle and you're good to go.
And it keeps for a while because all it is basically sugar and water. So we're going to start off. We're going to pour 2 ounces of vodka into our shaker that already has some ice in there. And the next thing we want to do is add in some fresh lemon juice. Now, again, since you're in quarantine, you may not be running out to the store to grab some lemons to do all that. I actually just like to use this 100% lemon juice that you can just get right in Kroger's. It's back in the juice aisle. Mm-hmm. Ours is up on the top shelf. Hopefully you don't have to reach that far for yours. But this calls for 3/4 of an ounce of lemon juice. And we're going to pour that right into the glass as well. And the last thing we want to add in there is this honey simple syrup, which, as Jeff was saying, it's basically just honey and water mixed together, 1 part to 1 part. They're calling for 1/2 ounce of this, so I am going to, let's see, I'm going to take my honey, again, bought from Kroger's. Thankfully we had this on hand, so we didn't have to go out for anything.
I always like the bottle shaped like a bear.
For anybody from San Francisco watching.
Ooh.
All right. So I'm going to do a 1/4 ounce of this honey, which, of course, it's new. Whenever you're doing something live, there's always going to be something you're not expecting, and right now that's taking the little condom off the bear here. But if you're in San Francisco, don't take the condom off the bear. You screw that back on while I get this honey off my hands.
Honey. All right, Mr. Bear is ready.
All right. So is everybody else watching, I'm sure. So I'm going to start off and just put in about 1/4 ounce of this honey. Then I'm going to add another 1/4 ounce of water. And I'm going to take our bar spoon here, kind of give that a quick stir. Again, probably if you want this to get really mixed up really well, you can do as Jeffrey said and do it over the stove just to make sure everything dissolves. But we don't have a stove down here. It's the one thing we didn't add when we were redoing our bar basement down here. Next time, I guess.
And plus you're going to be shaking it up anyway,
oh, yeah.
So it'll all mix.
All right, so we're going to pour that on in. All right, so next thing we want to do is give this a good shake. So if anybody has never used one of these Boston shakers before, you just want to prepare everything in the glass. If you can find one of these glasses that actually has all the measurements on the side is fantastic. You can, before you put your ice in, you mix all your ingredients in here, pour your ice in after that. Then you want to take your metal shaker here on top, place it on there, and you want to make sure that you kind of put it at a 45-degree angle. So you want to make sure one of these sides of the glass is pressed right up against here, so you've got a nice space right over here. And you give it a nice hard tap. Turn it over, and start giving it a little shake.
Masterfully done.
Oh, yeah.
Can I get your glass for you?
Yes, please. So, again, you see it's got kind of this, not really a 45-degree angle, probably more like 20 degrees here. So, whenever you're trying to open one of these, you want to hold it firmly in one hand up here near the top. So, have the glass leaning towards you at first, and wrap your hand around it. Make sure your palm's right in here. And if you want, you can kind of stabilize this top glass with your 2 fingers here. And the next thing you want to do is take the palm of your hand, and as you can see, right here on this angle, you're going to palm and slam your hand right into this.
The heel, yeah.
Yeah, the heel of your hand. So, It should just take one time, but now that I've explained it as being very easy, it's probably going to take me 5 or 6. But you just give it a nice little tap, and it'll come right out.
Woohoo! Wow. Look, everyone's very impressed. You can tell.
All right, so the next thing we're going to do is...
some comments over here.
We're going to strain this in here.
Oh, that's looking beautiful. All right, I'm going to move back over.
Yes, Larry and Brian, you can use any kind of vodka you have, whatever you have on hand.
Hi, Atron. Atron's our friend from Illinois. We haven't seen him in a long time.
The last time we saw him was on one of our other cruises.
Yes.
I'm going to add a little ice in there. All right.
Well, that's looking good. That looks like a proper cocktail.
Yeah, you could just stop right there probably. But the whole point of this was to add in our green tea. So as I said, I brewed this up earlier, went ahead and got it chilled. I'm just going to basically dump as much of this as I can into this glass. I probably could have used a larger glass, but this way I get more of the alcohol, less of the green tea, because again, I'm not really a fan of this stuff. I'm pretty sure that's why my brother made me have this cocktail. I told him this should really be good before we started, and he said, "Oh, I've never tried it before, so I was just putting it on you." So thanks, Jonathan. That's great.
Yes, thanks, Jonathan. Oh, very nice.
All right. So luckily we do have one fresh lemon in the household. We are sacrificing this for you guys. So I want to cut myself off just a little lemon garnish here.
Well, isn't that pretty as a picture?
Let's give it a little taste. It's interesting.
Interesting. Smells good. Smells fresh. I like it. It's almost like you'd expect it to be carbonated or something.
Yeah, it needs like a little fizz or something.
Yeah.
But you know, this is very healthy. Green tea has lots of antioxidants, stuff that can help your cholesterol. It even helps with bad breath. So if you're going to go in the morning to work and you just have one of those jobs where you have to drink in order to get through the day, this would be a good thing, because not only is it going to help keep your breath fresh in the morning, but the vodka's not going to show up either when you start talking to somebody. So, I mean, hey.
Wow, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, cheers.
Just make sure you're sober by the time it's ready to go home, unless you're going to walk.
All right. Well, thank you, Matthew. And, all right, so I'm going to be working on Chrissy's drink now, which he called the Back Porch. Now, a classic cosmopolitan would have vodka, cranberry juice, triple sec, and lemon and lime juice. And so she apparently didn't have cranberry juice, so she substituted, what did she call it? V8 berry blend. So we couldn't actually find that, so we got V8 peach mango. So I guess you could just put in whatever kind of juice you want if you're going to be substituting stuff anyway. It doesn't really matter that much.
It's kind of a way to put your own little spin on a Cosmo.
Sure.
That she did. So.
And she didn't have a lime, so she used an orange. And we don't really have an orange, but I'm going to use a clementine, you know, one of those cuties. So it all works.
Yeah,
it's all great.
Again, this is quarantine, so use what you have on hand.
Absolutely. Well, to give you a little background, if you ever wondered, you know, what's this Cosmopolitan? You've seen them, you know, it's a very pretty little pink drink. Well, back in the old days when people made liquor, they never mixed it with anything. You watch one of those old westerns, you know, they come into the saloon and swing in the door. They never say, "I'll have a Cosmopolitan." No, you say whiskey. But the the quality of the whiskey in those days was very spotty. You know, people were doing them in their own stills in their own backyards, and they didn't have the controls like they have today. And even things like gin and vodka, you know, your clear liquors up to World War II were very, very spotty. So people who were trying to be a little more sophisticated about their drinks would have something called like a vodka gimlet, which was simply this terrible vodka mixed with other things to make it more palatable and more interesting. So one of the drinks that developed around World War II was called a kamikaze, which is kind of the precursor to the cosmopolitan. So it was made from some vodka of questionable character plus triple sec and some lime juice. So that became the derivation. And then back in the mid-70s, some bartender came up with the idea of putting in a little bit of cranberry juice just to give it this pretty pink color, this beautiful blush. And so he mixed one of these drinks up and passed it along to the first taster, who said, that's cosmopolitan. And that's where the name came from. So that's where we got the cosmopolitan, and now we're going to do the redneck quarantine version of it. Thanks, Chrissy. So what we're going to use is a couple of ounces of vodka, some 3/4 of an ounce of triple sec, an ounce of this peach mango, and her recipe called for a squeeze of orange wedge. But what I thought I would do to pretty it up a little bit would be to actually muddle the orange in the drink instead, and also to give it an orange twist. So I'm going to make the twist part first. So if you see a cocktail recipe that calls for a twist, there's nothing magical about it. I mean, it's basically a piece of fruit, and you take your paring knife and you cut a nice wedge like this right out of the rind, and you want some pith in there, and we can make it pretty. We'll just trim the edges off a little bit like so. And then what we're going to do with it is we're going to have oils that come from this, and we're going to actually twist it and put it into the cocktail. But we'll come back to that part. So for now, I'm just going to cut off a wedge of fruit, which we will use in the cocktail itself. And so I'm going to do this part first, just put the fruit in there, and then I'm going to muddle it, which is just simply a nice way of saying I'm just going to squeeze it into the bottom